He'll do great things, that boy. That's what the village people said about him. Strong, coordinated, talented, smart, and charming. The young man felt as though he could become anything he wanted. He stood tall, with his shoulders back. His blue eyes spoke of a steady self-confidence held deep within him. His body was strong, built through hours of intensive sword training. And after endless hours of practice, he began to stroll through the village, back to his home. As he did, several girls waved to him, and he politely waved back. Upon arriving home, he began sharpening his swords, so they'd be ready for training the next day. Suddenly, a spirit appeared behind him, calling his name. The young man spun around ready to attack, only to find an incredibly plain-looking spirit floating harmlessly in the center of his room. Neither male nor female, the spirit held an entirely blank expression, neither happy nor sad, as though there was no emotion inside it whatsoever. The spirit spoke. "Young man, I am the spirit of seeing." The young man stood facing the spirit confrontationally. "What do you want?" he said, drawing his sword. The spirit remained completely unafraid. "Only to show you my powers. I can show you anything you can possibly imagine, for I am the spirit of seeing." The young man observed the spirit carefully. It continued to float passively in the air and seemed to pose no threat, without even a care. "You can show me anything, huh? Show me the cabin in the forest, across the shore." The spirit blew a puff of smoke, and inside the smoke, the cabin could be seen clearly. The image of the cabin hung in the air for several moments before disappearing. The young man smiled. "How interesting," he thought to himself. And another idea immediately came to his mind. "Show me the most beautiful girl in the world," he suggested, with a smirk on his face. Without a word, the spirit blew another puff of smoke, and in it appeared the most beautiful girl the young man had ever seen. Her long, dark hair lay delicately over her pretty head. She had big, piercing brown eyes, a delicate nose and plump lips. One hand lay perfectly on her hips, and she had a perfect, gorgeous, hourglass figure. The young man's pupils dilated as he stared at the girl in wonder for a full 5 minutes. Remembering where he was, he cleared his throat and composed himself once again. While he felt slightly embarrassed, the spirit maintained an empty gaze, seemingly unaffected by the young man's embarrassing display. Another idea entered the young man's mind. "Show me a great warrior," he commanded. As usual, the spirit blew yet another puff of smoke, with an image of exactly what the young man had asked for. The perfect warrior stood looking into the distance, his body toned and muscular, with a stern expression on his face. The young man marveled at this great hero, pledging that one day he, too, would one day be a great warrior, just like this man. The young man had had enough. "You may leave now, spirit. I have seen enough," he said dismissively, as he went back to sharpening his swords. The spirit of seeing spoke without emotion. "I shall remain here in the corner of your room, ready to show you my powers on your command." The young man shrugged his shoulders in acceptance. The spirit didn't seem to mean him any harm. As the weeks went by, the young man became accustomed to the spirit in his room. He used it to see the weather of the day, to see what his friends were doing. He even started looking at beautiful girls with their clothing removed. After all, the spirit of seeing would show him anything he asked for. The weeks turned into months, and he started leaving his sword training an hour early, and 2 hours early, and 3. For the spirit of seeing was far more stimulating than dull, repetitive sword training. The girls in the village waved, but the young man had stopped waving back. They were playing, he said to himself. One day he would find a girl just as beautiful as the ones he watched this spirit, he thought. He began using the spirit to watch great battles, and he cheered aloud as his favorite hero, turn the tide of the skirmish at the very last minute, watching with eagerness, thinking that one day he too would lead his own army into battle. He thought of these great battles while he practiced, and even began citing lines from his favorite hero as he swung his sword. And he would leave training after just a few short hours to rush home to watch another great battle. Not before seeing more naked, beautiful girls, of course. A year passed, and the girls in the village had stopped waving back. Some had wedded a husband, but most could be heard screaming the name of another boy in the village from the archery range each evening. Apparently, he was skilled with a bow. The young man cursed at this great hero, muttering under his breath something about real warriors not attacking from afar. He now often trained only for a few short hours a day, and some days he would skip training altogether. We'd walk at a quick pace through the village to get home, uninterested in exchanging pleasantries with the village folk. He began using the spirit to watch a number of beautiful naked girls perform sexual acts on one another. It now seemed that one single naked woman was no longer interesting, and his admiration for his favorite hero had turned into jealousy. He had watched the hero defeat enemy after enemy. The gap between himself and the hero seemed to loom ever larger. He could no longer run much of a distance, and his shield felt heavy. His sword skills were no longer matched other warriors of his own age. Several more years passed. The young man had given up on becoming a hero, although he would still rewatch his favorite battles through the spirit from time to time. The sword, however, lay quietly in the corner of his room, collecting dust. On the night of his 30th birthday, the middle-aged man sat alone in his room, feeling worse than he had ever felt. The clock struck 12. Suddenly, the spirit of seeing began to laugh. The man was startled. The spirit had never laughed before. In fact, it had never shown any emotion whatsoever. He looked up at the spirit who caught his gaze. Slowly, the spirit of seeing grew a wide smile on his face. For the first time in 10 years, the spirit spoke. "My work here is done," it said in a deep voice. "What are you talking about, spirit?" The man spoke fearfully. The spirit laughed again. "I shall reveal what I have kept secret for the past 10 years. I am the ultimate concentration of evil. I am the root cause of all the wickedness in the world. I am the devil himself." The spirit spoke pridefully. The man became terrified. His mouth grew wide, open, and speechless. "A demon will attack this village tonight. A prophecy foretold that you were the one destined to defeat it. But it is I that have defeated you. And now the souls of this village are mine." The spirit spoke with a tone of utter glee. Why wait 10 years? The man thought. Why not fight me face to face the first time we met? The man spoke fearfully in a shaky voice. The spirit let out another laugh. If I had fought you face to face, you would have conquered me. But I am cunning. The slow drip of poison given to you through streams and means of endless fantasy has rendered you too weak to fight me. And now this village is mine. The man could no longer do nothing other than sit down onto his bed. A deep, dark pain settled inside his stomach, one that he knew would never go away. Only the devil himself could inflict such deep, dark pain. The tormenting inner anguish he felt pulsating through his mind. The torture in his mind was too much to bear. He needed something to quell the pain. Can I see more of those beautiful naked girls just one more time? He asked. Of course, Devil said always. A wide grin grew across his face.